Local leaders are responding to President Trump's sweeping executive order to clear homeless people off the streets and involuntarily commit them to treatment. Good evening, I'm Preston Phillips.
And I'm Mary Nam. The order also calls for cities to lose their federal grants for failing to comply. It raises all sorts of questions about how it would work here in our region. New at 6, KOMO senior reporter Chris Daniels went straight to the governor and the mayor of Seattle for their response and joins us live with the answer. Chris.
Mary, we learned today that Washington's governor, Seattle's mayor, and Senator Patty Murray are all skeptical about the practicality of this order, given all the resources that would be needed to carry it out if it isn't held up by a legal challenge. It is arguably the most complicated issue of this past decade. How can or should cities get people off the sidewalks and into housing and treatment facilities? The president is now citing public safety as a reason to force the civil commitment of people with a mental illness or living on the streets, and threatening to pull discretionary grants for failing to curb urban camping.
And I don't think, again, the Trump administration really thinks through the practicality of some of these executive orders.
Bruce Harrell is Seattle's mayor, where there are nearly 17,000 homeless people, most of the estimated 31,000 statewide, and where numbers have gone up even as city and the state have spent more than $1 billion to address it. Is the city of Seattle prepared to lose federal grants as a result of this executive order?
We are prepared, and so when we look at our tax policy and our planning policy, we always built in that contingency.
What this is really is just a PR stunt.
Daniel Hornig is a former deputy director of the National Economic Council. There is a certain percentage of the community that says, hey, they think the federal government should get involved.
I'm not against the federal government getting involved. I think that there are ways that the federal government, for example, should be providing more resources to house people, more resources to provide treatment for those who need it, more resources to prevent people becoming homeless in the first place.
What about the flip side of this, that people suggest the federal government does need to step in here because Seattle hasn't done its job?
Well, we're sheltering more people. And if you look at what we did in 2023, for example, over a couple of thousand people we sheltered. You look at 2024, again, approximately a couple of thousand people, in addition to building 33,000 units and 6,500 units of affordable housing.
There are also questions tonight about how any of this would work with the state's Involuntary Treatment Act, or where anyone would be housed if all of this was implemented. No answers on any of that today. I did reach out to Washington's Governor Bob Ferguson as well, and he issued a statement to me, reading in part, "This is another misguided and harmful executive order from the Trump administration. I'll be working with my team as we start hearing from federal agencies about how they plan to implement this executive order to determine our response." Mary?
So, Chris, how does this move forward? What's next?
Well, the executive order does call for Attorney General Pam Bondi and multiple other department heads to come together to put together this plan and try to execute the plan. Again, there are a lot of questions here about the logistics and just how long that may take. So nothing is going to change overnight. I also reached out to the Washington Attorney General Nick Brown about whether he will take any sort of legal action. He did not return a request for comment today.
Chris, thank you.
Here now is a live look at the White House, where today President Trump promised to immediately remove homeless camps near the White House.
I think it's terrible, and we'll have them removed immediately. We do remove it. We've got to get the mayor to run this city properly. This city has to be run.
The president's comments came after a reporter told him people were camping along the other side of Pennsylvania Avenue in front of the U.S. Treasury building.
Another major West Coast city hopes to crack down on people living in RVs. This week, the San Francisco Board of Supervisors approved an ordinance that bans RVs from parking on city streets for more than 2 hours at a time. Owners could face fines or have their vehicle towed unless they have a special permit. Back in May, the city said there were more than 400 RVs being used as housing. Supporters of the parking ban call it a win for safer and cleaner streets. Critics say the city has a problem with affordable housing, and RVs give people a low-cost option.
All right, time now for you to scan the QR code there on your screen to vote in tonight's KOMO Pulse poll. And here's what we're asking. What's your take on Trump's order making it easier to remove homeless people from the streets? 79% say approve, 15% disapprove, 6% say we'll wait and see. You can still vote. We'll update the results tonight on KOMO News at 11.